What Hearthstone class you should play is a hard question because
You should only play one Hearthstone class, play all of them or a few of them, you'll have more fun!
now that that's out of the way, you might favor or main a few specific classes based off 3 factors. The first one is their playstyle. I like to think of it as using tropes from Warcraft or other fantasy games, but this time it's in a card game. Starting with the Death Knight class, the class has a lot of playstyles, but the general theme is that you're using your minions that have died this game to gain an advantage later in the game using the corpse mechanic. Corpses are just a resource you get whenever a friendly minion dies. You can use them later for some sort of benefit. The deck building process for this class is the most complicated for new players because you have the rune mechanic. There are 3 runes with generally 3 different playstyles. Gain a bunch of health and ruin your opponent's day, but this time you're slow on the board. Freeze your opponent's board and ruin their day, but at least you don't last that long. Raise up the undead, and this one's actually kind of fair because the spells are pretty bad. Nice. If you want to main a class, this one provides the most options with different strengths and weaknesses for each of the rune types. But just be prepared to go through an hour of prologue to unlock this class. Demon Hunters are just like Death Knights, where they're another class you need to complete a prologue to get the cards from. Demon Hunters are swift and agile, and their playstyle complements that. They're good for aggro or combo players. Your aggro decks can use a lot of hero powers and small minions to do a lot of quick damage, while your combo decks has a lot of card draw and they do a lot of cool stuff with their spells. I like to imagine when I'm playing Demon Hunter that I'm dashing around the board because I forgot to take Riddle. You can also buff your hero's attack and give them a Glade Blade because they're edgy, but they're generally not good at dealing with singular big minions or a lot of minions for a long time. They're more like glass cannons who can deal a lot of damage but struggle in stopping damage. They're a good class if you generally like fast-paced games that can do a lot of burst damage, but remember, you're not winning any super long games and you're not dealing with the big boys. Druids are shapeshifters and tree huggers, and their playstyle matches this. Your hero has 2 sides, the "Woo, rah, you wouldn't like me when I'm angry," and you gain attack, or "Oh, whoa, I'm a sturdy, tough little boy," which gains what am I doing, dude? I hate myself. Why am I doing this? In tune with nature, they can gain mana at the cost of playing slowly at the beginning of games. Doing this allows them to gain big spells or big minions a bit earlier at the sacrifice of not playing anything at the beginning of the game. You can literally build a wall of taunts as druids, and you can also heal with essential oils. I don't know why that's added, but you know you can. Your other playstyle is fast infestation or swarm-like decks for quick wins, but druids are not really good at dealing with your opponent's board. You kind of just do your own thing and hope your thing is better than your opponent's thing. So if you like to win with a quick anime turntable-like turn or a fast infestation win, then Druid is your playstyle. Hunters are what I would say is the simplest class to play. Your hero power is literally do damage to your opponent, and that's your whole playstyle. You just do damage to your opponent. Hunters are not made to have long-lasting games. It's a simple I want to hurt people playstyle, but this also means that you're susceptible to damage because you don't heal or have any top minions to protect yourself. Adding on to that, you also don't have any good cards for removal. You're relying on your minions to control the board for you and not your spells. Hunters are really good if you like straightforward games with not many spells and more minions, and you like trying to explode your opponent before they explode you. I'd really recommend this class if you are a beginner, and then try out other classes once you figure out which parts of Hunter you like and which parts you don't like. Mage is the tutorial class, which means it's a straightforward class to play. You deal damage with magic, and your minions support your magic. Flexible class, you can use your spells whatever you want, and your job is to figure out when you should use your spells on which target. You're not attacking with your hero or having the best statted minions either. It's more so spell focused because duh. Again, it's another good class for beginners because it teaches you when to deal damage with your spells and when to start blasting fools. But since we're all stuck up mages, you are not going to have good minions. It's a lot of spell focused deck. So if you like choosing what to do with your spells and you don't really care about minions, then Mage is the class for you. Paladins are righteous, fair, inspiring, and also stuck up. You can buff your own minions and debuff your opponent's minions, but very rarely will you outright remove any minion from the board. Since you're part of the nobility, you actually don't kill people. You just strip all their resources and then have your minions kill them instead. That being said, it's a very minion based class. Your spells can support your minions or they draw cards and heal you, so you can support your minions even more. Your hero power even summons a minion. You're just playing a bunch of minions. Besides Death Knight, this is probably the other best class to main because a lot of paladin decks have a condition where you can only play paladin cards to get a buff. Don't ask me how segregation got in the Hearthstone either. I don't get it. This class is honest. You have what you have and you'll run out of it eventually. Good for minion based players, not good for people who like playing unfair. What's next? Oh my, I wonder what priests are good at doing. Priests are good at controlling the board with big spell effects, but they're also good at healing their own minions or themselves so they can control the board for longer. Keep everything on your side of the board alive and slowly burn out your opponent. That is the playstyle for priests. But sometimes they can do the opposite and become a shadow priest, which is basically a priest with a Glock. They're aggressive, they deal damage, and they don't heal. It's a good class to play if you like dealing with your opponent's board or other threats while just slowly burning them down. But I would definitely say this is the class where the games go on the long longest. You're also only good at keeping everything alive. You're not really good at damaging your opponent's health pool directly. You're relying on your minions for that, and a lot of the time your minions aren't the best in Priest. It's one of those classes where you need a game-winning card, and if you don't have a game-winning card, your class kind of sucks for that expansion. Good luck. Haha, sucks to suck. Remember how I said in Demon Hunter how it's like I forgot to take Ritalin? Well, rogues also forgot to take Ritalin, but this time they're a bit mean about it. You can play a lot of cards in your turn, and I mean a lot. You're a tricky class. Play minion, bring it back to your hand, play 5 of the cards, bam, 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 discounted cost, beach combo, blah, blah, blah. All of a sudden you have a 20/20 on the board. You're a pretty dirty class to play. You have some unfair cards, but the problem becomes how can you play these unfair cards? But its swindle-like nature makes it really bad at confrontation. If your opponent decides they just want to kill you, they kind of just can. You have no healing or taunt minions to protect yourself, and your removal is not that good either. It's just you and your spells and whatever you can steal from your opponent. Rogue decks are generally fast-paced or combo decks, and you're not winning any long game either, so your main idea is to just pull something out your butt and you hope it works. I would really not recommend maining rogues as your first class. Rogues are expensive and they're tricky to play, and if you don't know the cards, you are not going to have fun. I've been playing this game for years, and if I don't pay attention to the meta, I don't know how to play Rogue. I'm serious. Shamans are like Druids, but instead of playing cards that gain you mana early so later you can get a powerful effect, Shamans use a mechanic called Overload, which lets them play the powerful cards right away, but then they have to recharge in the following turns. You build up a strong board of minions or generate a big spell effect, but the next turn you have to wait, with the Overload mechanic locking you out of some mana crystals. You rely on a combination of spells and minions, both which complement each other in a nature-like theme. The general plan is to win by constantly playing threats and hoping your opponent can't deal with them. But this makes it so that Shamans struggle in the late game because their Overload mechanics only make their cards good in the earlier game when you play it on curve for the amount of mana it costs. If a Shaman plays a 6 mana card that really has an 8 mana cost effect, it doesn't matter on turn 8 because your opponent has 8 mana to do the same effect. Your cards are really honest too. The elements can't give you random cards out of nowhere, and neither can the Shaman class. You get what you get and you don't get upset. Play Shaman for a generally straightforward playstyle. You can play some cards early that are powerful, but in the late game you'll start slacking. Warlocks are kinky, and I mean it. The general idea is that you sacrifice earlier to gain a better effect later, or right away. You can also use demonic-like creatures to swarm or beat down your opponents. You've got large, colossal demons with huge stats, or a bunch of small swarms of smaller demons. And don't think that sacrificing your health is permanent. You can gain health almost as easily as you can lose it. Your health pool is basically your bank account during tax season. Play Warlocks if you don't mind gambling. Sacrifice now in the hopes to gain more later, but sometimes that sacrifice just won't pay off. Warriors are exactly what you think, and there's not even a joke here. You hit things with like axes, that's how blunt it gets. Gain armor, use weapons to attack. You are a berserker and your minions generally follow suit. Your spells generally follow the same pattern of dealing damage or gaining armor, but what they struggle in doing is dealing damage to your opponent's face. You need to do all the work and not your spells. Your minions are strong and they're not supported by your spells, and your spells are strong but they're not supported by your minions. Somewhere in the middle, your hero's involved, but it's really your choice which type you want to focus on more, your minions or your spells. But that's only one of the 3 factors which will help you decide what Hearthstone class you should main. Something that's even more important is how much it costs to play each class, as some of these classes require a lot more dust to play compared to other classes. This video right here goes over all the Hearthstone classes from least to most expensive and will help you in your Hearthstone journey. Subscribe for more Hearthstone guides. Thanks for stopping by. See you around.